Jade Teta, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Drew.
I love your work. We've been following you for over the past 3 years, and you've been a true inspiration to the Fit Life community. I'm excited to talk about your new program today, Metabolic Prime, and get into the ins and the outs of exercise. You know, traditional exercise is dead, more or less. For me, personally, I don't like spending hours in the gym, and I try to find something to kind of hack the gym at large, and this is a really, really great way to do that. So, thank you for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me, man. Love your stuff. Really an honor. The idea behind what we do with Metabolic Prime is we help you find what works for you. Everyone is unique. We are unique metabolically, we are unique psychologically, and we are unique in our personal preferences. So nutrition needs to be matched to those metabolic needs, psychological needs, and those personal preferences. We teach you how to do that along with the workout. And one thing I know you know, Drew, you talk about a lot, we talk about it, is this idea of nutrition is absolutely essential. It may be the most essential part of this, even more important than exercise. But let's not do exercise that makes us crave cheesecake and makes us eat all the wrong things. Let's make sure that we're doing smart exercise and smart nutrition matched to our unique needs.
All right, Jade, I know you've had 25 years of experience of really diving in to this work that you've been doing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know, believe it or not, it started at the age of 15. I was, well, actually it started before that. I was 11 years old, 10 years old maybe. I remember I have two older brothers who were into fitness, and I remember my dad running up to my dad and saying, hey, I want to work out with my brothers because they were getting into lifting weights. And my dad said, no, can't do that. It might stunt your growth. We used to think that back then, it would stunt your growth. He said, just do a bunch of sit-ups and push-ups. So I would do thousands of these things. By the time I was 15, I was actually personal training, which people are just like, what do you mean? Well, I was writing programs for the guys on the football team and their family members. And so I had this very love of health and fitness right from the beginning. And when I went to undergrad training, I wanted to study biochemistry because I really wanted to understand how diet and exercise created body change and created health or disease. That then led me to want to go to medical school, but I hit sort of a roadblock here because I was so into health and fitness, so into exercise and nutrition, and I looked at the curriculum to all the medical schools out there, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but I looked, and these things, they had no training in nutrition and zero training in exercise, and I was just like, you got to be kidding me. I'm going to medical school and I'm going to learn nothing about nutrition and nothing about exercise. So I was depressed there for about 6 months because I was like, I'm going to have to change my whole approach. Then I discovered a school called Bastyr University up in Seattle, Washington that trained primary care physicians specifically in integrative medicine and lifestyle medicine, where nutrition and exercise was the crux of everything they did. And all of a sudden I was just like, that is what I'm going to do. So I went there for 6 years, got my medical degree there. And then I hit another sort of interesting effect that happened to me shortly after that. In natural medicine, we have a concept we call docere, which means doctor as teacher. When I was in the clinic, I found myself teaching all the time. I mean, I might as well have been up on a whiteboard drawing out biochemical pathways and helping people understand how their body works. And people were really responding and getting really good results from that. So I said, hey, why don't I bring this sort of teaching online so I can be the teacher? And I ended up leaving my clinical practice and started doing more of a consulting practice and teaching online. And sort of the rest is history. And so now I'm this sort of hybrid fitness professional who has sort of this background, 25 years as a personal trainer, undergrad training in biochemistry, and then integrative physician background, as well as self-study since the age of 18 in the psychology of change. And so really what I have done is create this sort of background for myself that allows me to teach how the metabolism works, how we do what we do, and how we create health and sort of optimal fitness.
I love it, and we're going to hear all about it today when we get into how Metabolic Prime can alter the lives of anybody watching right now. So Jade, tell us how this impacts women.
It's really interesting that Metabolic Prime has very specific action toward women. And here's an interesting thing that all women will relate to, right? There's the skinny fat syndrome that occurs, right? Where it's like, you go out, you exercise like crazy, you do maybe marathon running, and you go from sort of a pear-shaped woman, right? And you're trying to get this hourglass shape, but you go from a pear shape to a smaller, more pronounced, mushy pear shape, the skinny fat phenomena, right? Because the body, that's how the body works. It doesn't like to just burn fat. It burns a little bit of muscle too, which infuriates women. But then there's the other side, because people tell women, hey, go and lift weights and eat more protein. And then what they do is they do that, and they turn into the muscle fat phenomena, where they gain some muscle underneath a layer of fat that isn't burned, right? What we need to do is we need to have weight training that is not so heavy and so intense to overstimulate muscle growth, but just the right amount to stimulate human growth hormone, which, believe it or not, women will get a more amplified human growth hormone effect from exercise than men will. Men get more testosterone push, women get more human growth hormone push, if one thing happens, and that is they generate a burn in their muscles. So you know when you're exercising and you're in a squat position and you're pulsing your legs and you start feeling that burn in your legs, that is a signal that you're releasing lactic acid that we used to think was a bad thing, but now we know it stimulates human growth hormone, which for women is the ultimate metabolic multitasker because it burns fat and builds muscle at the same time for women, which is a beautiful effect to happen. It avoids the skinny fat syndrome and the muscle fat syndrome and really gives women what they want. It's really interesting. We talk about, right, we talk about inflammation and we talk about aging. I know you talk about aging a lot. Well, it's funny because aging, when you think about exercise, we tend to think all exercise is anti-stress and anti-aging. That's not actually correct. If you overdo exercise, you are ramping up inflammatory processes and ramping up the aging process. You do not want to overdo, you want it just right. So we want anti-inflammatory exercise, which really is exercise that's not overdone. And by the way, I'll give you guys one hint for those people who are listening, because I know one of the questions that comes up for a lot of people, they say, but Jade, how do I know if I'm overdoing it? Well, that's where this hunger, energy, and cravings, heck in check, really clues you in, because when the body is stressed out, what happens to hunger, energy, and cravings? They go through the roof. Hunger goes up, energy gets unpredictable and unstable, cravings go up. If your heck is in check, then you know you're doing enough but not too much.
I love that.
Isn't it interesting, and we talked about this, Drew, just a little while ago, isn't it interesting that couch potatoes, people who do no exercise and eat like crazy, and then people who are dieters who eat nothing and exercise like crazy, isn't it interesting that both of them have their heck out of check?
Yeah.
Because they're both in a stressful state. And so what we want is balance when it comes to exercise.
Bring it back into balance.
Yep.
So somebody orders this. Yep. They start doing it 3 days a week. In 2 weeks, what kind of results can they expect to see?
Yeah, well, the cool thing about this is hunger, energy, and cravings will stabilize. And the reason why is because you are letting your body relax and not stressing it out, as opposed to going into marathon running programs or these crazy, insane workouts. We do just enough, but not too much, and all of a sudden, you feel very balanced within about 2 weeks. Shortly after that, after about 4 weeks to 6 weeks, you start noticing your body is looking very different. Now, unlike some programs where it's like, oh, you're gonna lose 10 pounds right off the bat and then gain 20 back later, what happens here is you look in the mirror and you're just like, wow, my entire shape is changing. My clothes are fitting different, I'm looking different, I'm feeling different, and in about 4 weeks, that's when you start seeing people be like, what are you doing? You're doing something different. Have you lost weight? Now you might be like, well, not really, but all of a sudden your whole body shape is changing. Here's an interesting thing for men and women to understand. When you are exercising and trying to lose weight, we tend to think in terms of weight loss, but what we want to think of is in terms of shape change. There is a shape for men and women both that is the most healthy shape and the shape that is most associated with attraction. It's the V shape for men and the hourglass shape for women. So what we want to do is we don't just want to lose weight, we want to change our shape. And so we want to do exercise in a way that creates the hourglass shape for women and the V shape for men. That's going to start to occur around 4 to 6 weeks of this program. And it's a really cool effect to have happen. It means you're getting healthier. It also means people on the street are going to start checking you out.
I'm all about that. Where can I sign up?
Yeah, so Metabolic Prime, there's a link right next to this video. Click the link in next to the video. Metabolic Prime is going to be, I think, the best thing that you can do for your metabolism to essentially get yourself balanced, get yourself back on track.